Get strong.
Okay, so let's talk about what your child needs to know. What does your child need to know when it comes to multiplication? As we think about that, let's look at and just go through several things right there. The first thing your child needs to know is how to multiply. And when you think about multiplication, we have this 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Essentially, what you have there is 2 times 4. You have 4 2's. And so you have 2 times 4, and that answer is going to be 8. So your child may start out skip counting. They may start out, counting by fives or counting by a certain number, but they need to know that they're actually doing an easy and quick way to add. That multiplication is really just an easy and quick way to add. So they need to know how to multiply first. And then as they learn how to multiply, they're going to see it in different ways. So when you think about it, let's say we have these balls right here, and I have 4 columns going across the top. Your child's going to see it this way quite a bit. And then I have 5 rows going down. So essentially what I have is 4 times 5. This is a way to express an area model. This is a way to express an array. Your child will see this depicted quite a bit of time. So they'll have to know that 5 times 4 is going to be equal to 20. So no matter how we do this, we have 4 columns going across the top and 5 rows going down the bottom. That's going to be equal to 20 balls, so to speak. And then if we looked at it, they're going to see it this way, but they're also going to see sometimes it's switched around. So I have, 4 columns going across and I have 5 rows going down. What if I switched it and I end up having 5 columns going across and I end up having 4 rows going down? Well, it doesn't matter. The answer to this problem is still going to be the same. It's going to be 5 times 4 or 4 times 5 is going to be equal to 20. Your child will need to know that. And then as we look at this and we kind of move forward, your child's really going to have to then learn just the facts, the basic facts by heart. So it doesn't matter what it is, the ones all the way up from 1 to 12, your child's going to have to know these by heart. They're going to have to memorize them. There's just no way to get around the practice. You're going to have to memorize this information and memorize these facts and do the work for it, because it's going to be hard to move forward if you don't. Then, we kind of hinted on this before, but we'll touch on it again. Your child's going to have to understand that order does not matter when it comes to multiplication. So whether I have 2 times 4, I have, 2 rows and 4 columns, or I switch it around and I end up having 4 times 2. I have 4 rows and 2 columns. It doesn't matter. The answer is going to be the same here. It doesn't matter if you switch the order when it comes to multiplication. The answer is going to be the same. Your child will need to know that. The other thing your child's going to need to know is about place value. And each number in a given, each space in a given number has a value associated with that space, right? So this number right here has 4 ones, as you would see, 9 tens, and it has 100s. So this is essentially place value. Each space holds a certain value when it comes to a number. And your child will have to understand the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds, thousands, as they kind of move forward. The other concept when it comes to place value, that each space holds a certain value, is that each space can hold up to 9 units. So we can hold up to 9 ones in the ones bucket. We can hold up to 9 tens in the tens bucket. We can hold up to 9 hundreds in the hundreds bucket. When we get above 9, we have to carry over. So when we get above 9 ones, we have 10, we carry over a group of 10 to the next space up. And we're going to see an example of that. So they have to understand carrying over and place value and the value associated with each space. So let's look at this right here when it comes to double-digit multiplication, because you have to carry over quite a bit. So let's say I start off on the right-hand side and I multiply the 4, which is in the 1 place, times the 5 in the 1 place, and this 35 times 4. When I do 4 times 5, I'm going to have 0 ones, and I'm going to have 2 tens that I carry over. I'm carrying over 2 tens. And then I'm going to multiply 4 times 3. And that's going to be 12, plus the 2 tens I already have. I'm going to have 14 tens essentially. So the answer is going to be 140. That's going to be the answer to this problem. So your child's going to learn to know how to carry over when they do double-digit multiplication, how to handle place value and carrying over. So not only that, sometimes they'll see multi-digit multiplication, and they may have double digits or triple digits in the number. So let's say I have 35 times 34. Sometimes they'll see it represented this way. I'll take the 30 and the 5 and I break it apart, right? And I separate the 30 from the 5. And then I'll take the 30 and the 4 and I break them apart. And this is called the area model sometimes. And so children will see this in terms of the area model. So first I'll take the 30 times 30 and I'll multiply that together, and I'm going to get 900. Then I'll take the 30 and I'll multiply it times a 5, and that's going to give me 150. Then I'll take my 4 on the bottom and I multiply it by the 30 on top, and that's going to give me 120. Then I'll take my 4 on the bottom and I multiply it by 5, and that's going to give me 20. So when I add these all together, 900 plus 150 plus 120 plus 20, That's going to give me 1190. That's going to be the answer. So your child may see multiplication represented in this way, and he or she's going to have to understand and figure out how to do this as well. And from an area model perspective, that's going to be important. Then finally, your child will have to look at, double digit or decimal multiplication. As we start to think about multiplying just in general, let's say we have this number here and we have decimal places now. We have 2.5 times the number 5. Well, what does that actually equal if I have 2.5 times 5? Well, I'm going to have to do something in terms of counting the decimal places. I may not only also have to just do carrying over, but I'm also going to have to look at the decimal spaces. So let's say I have 5 times 5, and that's going to be 25. So I put 5 into one's place and I carry my 2. Now I'm going to multiply the 5 on the bottom by the 2 on the top. That's going to give me 10 plus the 2 that I carry over. That's going to be 12. My answer is going to be 12.5, but how do I know that it's just one decimal place that's going to be in the answer? Well, what you do is I'm going to count the decimal space, the spaces behind each decimal point. So if I have 2.5 and I have 5, that's what I multiply together. I'm going to go ahead and add up how many spaces does each number have behind this decimal point. So in this case, the number 2.5 has one space behind the decimal point, and 5 has none. So the answer is going to have one space after the decimal point in the answer. So it's going to be one space. And that's why the answer is 12.5. I just count one space. I add it up like I didn't have any decimal points. And I just count one space and I add that to the end in terms of the decimal place and the position of the decimal point. So what your child is going to have to do, in summary, you're going to have to figure out, how do I teach my child these very important things? What your child needs to know to move on in multiplication. So how to multiply is going to be important. Your child will need to know how to multiply. And also to memorize facts, how important it is to memorize facts and know them off the top of your head. Your child's also going to have to understand that order does not matter when it comes to multiplication and figure out when they see numbers that are switched around. Your child will have to understand place values and how to handle carrying over. And then multi-digit multiplication, that follows right after place value. How do I multiply bigger and bigger and larger numbers? And finally, your child will have to understand decimal multiplication. How would I figure out how many decimal places to include in my multiplication answer? So if your child figures out all these things, they'll be able to go very far when it comes to multiplication and other places in math.